Hello everyone. FramerX React meets design, and FramerX is an application for interactive design where you can use real components. And my name is Artem Riasnianskyi, and you can follow me on Twitter and write me if you have any questions about my talk or any. And I had like a 4 coffee already, so if I will be speaking too fast, give me a sign, please. Yeah, so let's start. Framer didn't start as an application, it started as a JavaScript library. Maybe you heard about it like a couple of years ago. And it was started by Koen Bock and Jorn van Dijk, where their time at Facebook. They were product designers there. And they realized that selling your design is much easier. It was like 5 years ago or so. Much easier if you have a real thing that people can click around and like feel, instead of just have a slideshow of pictures where you just need to run like, and then you press button here and it goes to the next slide and then goes there. So they start this JavaScript library, and yeah, basically here you see CoffeeScript, but I will cover this later. So it was a set of utilities for scene management, for layers, for colors, for animations, and like some data fetching, all the stuff you can use for prototyping with code. Yeah, and after a couple of years at Facebook, they went back to Amsterdam, and they decided to start build application around this framework. It was simple, and at the beginning was just a compiler for CoffeeScript. And why CoffeeScript? Because for designers it was easier to learn something like without semicolons and a lot of parentheses. Yeah, and in fact a lot of designers actually learn how to program through Framer. Then we came up with a better name and more features here. The Framer Studio, now it's called Framer Classic. Also we started to add more advanced features, like you can add stuff on canvas or like a preview thing, and then you can move around and have like a really reflecting this on your code, which was basically like a set of visual helpers for designers to start with something. And then you have this like a properties panel where you also do adjustment and it reflects in your code. And then we realized that, okay, then why don't build more like advanced tool where you can actually do design? So we split our application into 2 parts. One was the code and preview, and another was design. And design was purely done with React and TypeScript. So it's a kind of, yeah, was thing where you can use your designs in code when you do prototypes. So, and then we came up with a FramerX. You may probably heard about it, and I will show a quick demo what is FramerX now. So let's start with a new thing. I will have like 2 demos. This one more or less short, and the second one will be a little bit longer. But yeah, just, you know, sometimes demos are not going as planned. Okay, so the most important thing which you need to have as a design tool is to draw rectangles. So let's start with the simple stuff. You can have like this and like this. Then we will go with some text layer, like hello Berlin, and also some vector graphics. So let's do some logo here in the middle, and I will draw like this. Oop. Remove fill, add stroke, a little bit more, then duplicate, rotate, duplicate, rotate, and I guess you're getting what what is this? No. Okay. Yeah. Oh well. In the middle, fill. Let's use this color. Okay, yeah, kind of a Framer logo. But it wouldn't be Framer if we don't have interactions here, so I will show you how we can add some interactions. Here we added like a property panel which we call code, where you can attach some code overrides for your components. So here I selected like one component, one frame, it's not yet component, and I can edit this file to actually show what is happening there. So I will remove what we don't need here, and yeah, this like this. Save, remove, like to remove code. So we have here our Framer library, which was like a basically Framer.js a few years ago, and then we expose some observable properties, observable like set of helpers, and then we export a function which we called override, which receive props for the object on canvas, and it can return an object that will override these properties before it being rendered. So for example, here we set with our data object like a global state, let's say, we set the rotation that equals to the current rotation of our object, and then we return an object that says now for this object rotation would be observable. And then we have a new event listener on top where we actually animate this observable for something else. So let's check how that would work. Let's hit preview, and oh, I forgot to select this, right? Okay, and when I click, it rotates. So simple, but interesting thing. And then let me draw another screen to actually show you more stuff that makes Framer a little bit different. So more about components. Let's draw another frame here. And that would be kind of a profile for users. So I will use here like avatars. And then let's add some username, right, and we will make it like this. So now what I can do, I can convert this thing on a canvas into component, which I can reuse later. So now it's a component, and here I also can say, okay, I have a Framer knows that there is a text field inside this component. If you wanna, you can override it in instances. So I can click here, and I will make this thing as a properties for instances. So if I will duplicate now this component, I can just set something here like Artem, and it will be there. And now if I will change here, for example, avatar color to be like more blue, so it also updates this. And another thing is that we also have component which we call stack, which provides functionality of flex boxes on your canvas. So if you then add more stuff, it will just automatically arrange this, and you can adjust it like you adjust your flex box. So yeah, change direction, change some alignment, and change gaps and paddings, which is quite useful for designers where they want to be kind of in a strict system, and it will also be easier to hand off to developers because we know how it works and we know which properties are there. Okay, so the next thing, let's go back to let's show that it's everything here is actually web technologies. So if I will open DevTools and show you that here, for example, this thing is just an SVG. Let's go there. Or here. Okay, I'm trying to guess. Yeah, it's here. Canvas, zoom. So when I move over the thing, it highlights, and then when I go inside, it shows that okay, it's just element, and then it's just SVG. And also, yeah, I can run React Dev Tools, and everything here will be also shown that it's actually React. So let's go back to the slides. What we just saw is like that. Obviously, we can draw rectangles and text. We can do some advanced graphics with SVG. We can do some interactive components with the code, and we can actually, yeah, write things. So the next thing is, let's talk a little bit of internals of how everything is powered inside Framer. And yeah, everything we see on a canvas is actually a huge data structure. It's a tree. Sometimes it's not even a tree. It could be a graph. And we need to manage this data. So this is a unidirectional data flow in a React world. And if you're familiar more with the Redux, you can scratch dispatcher and put the reducer. It's a completely different thing, but it serves the same purpose. So we were using this unidirectional data flow, Flux, and we used vanilla Flux for our things, for our store and for our dispatcher. And we also use immutable.js in order to be more strict with our data structures. And for Canvas and for tools, we using React. But for tools, we're a bit regret that we use React, because it's now like a huge components without render. And by tools, I mean something like a mouse move or mouse select or highlight or something like this, so where's no actually rendering. Yeah, and about immutable.js, it's a really nice library and we use it, but for powering our canvas, the performance of immutable.js was not enough, so we decided to go with our own solution. We started to build our Framer engine. It's state management that we have for canvas. And yeah, to build anything like this, you need to know how React updates. So there's like 3 ways to update anything on a canvas, on a view. You either provide a new properties from a parent, or you have somewhere set state, or you trigger in some libraries force update. Yeah, and so imagine you want to update something. We have like a parent node and a child node, and for child node you want to add a new color, like for example a green. So user did something, we have a new green, and in this huge tree we actually mutate future. So on each node we have a property which called future or cache, and then there we have mutable structure which reflects like what will be with the next engine commit thing. So we change the color for children, and then for parent we change children. And then after update we got like updated parent node and updated children. So our engine consists like from 6 states more or less. We start with idle when nothing happens, then we handle user events, then we have a mutation happening in a tool processing and post-processing. And the post-processing is something like to check that the tree states still in a healthy state, so we don't have like a weird connections, because it sometimes could be like a nested loops and all this stuff. So in event handling we do actually set state, but then we have a lot of should components update where we like, because we set state for the whole tree once, and then we reduce amount of renders with should component update, where we check this future for each node. Then we of course render it, and then we wait until render is finished, with kind of a technical thing. Yeah, I'm not sure how much you can take from it for your daily work. We also have a lot of other interesting stuff, like how to load external components, instrumenting client-side code, and export to like whatever you think about, and Canvas use like Canvas component side code. So if this is all interesting for you, we're hiring. Feel free to ping me after the talk. But if you're not in a mood of changing job today, let's talk a little bit about externals. how you can actually use Framer for your current company. So yeah, the main thing is you can create code components and use them in design. So for this, we created an extension for React API. We call it property controls. And of course, we will rewrite it with hooks. Just a picture before hooks. Yeah, we use TypeScript, but it's basically a strings. So, but we use TypeScript because we think it's just inline documentation and it helps people to get in faster. We support this amount of property controls which your components could expose, but I guess it's just easier to show everything. So, and here start the second demo. Let's create a new document and let's visit our store where you can publish your components, by the way. Property, oops, there. And this one. Okay, everything works. So just the text, then you can adjust the color for your components. We have bunch of different selectors for, not selectors, controls for numbers like this. Even if you have something like paddings, you can fuse it. So like this, booleans, enums, different way, even the files which will be attached to your document. So, and here I want to choose a fancy picture I found on Unsplash by Simon Hutch. Okay. Oops. Oh, it's pretty big. Yeah. Okay. But how you can all use this if you have already some components on npm. So let's let's show something that other people created in the store. And for this, I can use one of the components which is called YouTube, and we'll try to do small inception. Okay, let's put there like, I guess it's pretty big. Let me zoom in. And I will add this component to the frame. To this frame, and also I need this URL. Okay, on, and let's preview this. So, and if we will wait a bit, there will be another inception inside inception. Yeah, okay, but let's do something more useful. So let's start with the new code component, and I will call it chart. I will remove what I don't need at the moment. Oh, yeah, I can actually show you what is there now. So we have a basic rectangle with some one property control for text, hello Berlin, and it automatically updates. And if I will, for example, do some changes here to make it like a nice blue color, and it will save, it's automatically hot reloading all this stuff. So let's make it actual chart. For this I need open the folder where I have this design, but first let me save it just in case. Working chart. Yeah, so I can show project folder, and maybe you can recognize it. It has package.json, node modules, some build, some logs. So our project is basically JavaScript projects. And yeah, let me navigate to this. Okay, now I can npm install, yarn install, all the things. Yarn adds recharts. It's a nice library which I found on the internet. And yeah, I guess I will need some example, and I will also add some types just in case. So is the sizes enough, like everybody can see, right? Cool, thanks. Now I will remove all the stuff which I won't use now. This is styling, and then I will start with the importing. Import everything as recharts from recharts, and const line chart, I guess, x-axis from chart. Okay, and now I will do the next. So I will replace this with a array control for numbers. Let's call it data, and it will be numbers array. And here data, and let's add some numbers like a 0, 1, 5, 3, 5, 6. And data. So type would be array. Ooh. Array, and it reads because I'm missing something. Property control would be type control type number. Okay, and just to test that everything works, I will just show data here, join with some, I don't know, plus. Yeah, looks like it works. And let's now use our chart. We can replace this with a line chart, and also I can add a width number, and also would be height also number. So this is two things that coming from framework to your components as properties. This is some kind of a standard properties that you can use. So let's use it here. With would be this props with height would be this props. By the way, I'm so used to prettier, so I just like type everything how it goes, and then you save it and it do the magic. Such an awesome tool. And the data would be this props data map, and let's map it like this, yeah, awesome. Then we will add x-axis, and yeah, I need to check documentation for this. Yes, of course, chess. What else I can look for? Recharts. charts. Yeah, data key. Data key would be X. Yeah, exactly. Thanks. And then line. I have a line which will be monotone. We will use Y for this. Let's use default color, and this we don't need it. So let's see what we have. It's nicely animated chart. And then I can even change the values here, and it will automatically animate all this stuff. Yeah, so, and the last thing I want to do is to add a color there, like color, because designers love to work with color, right? String, and the default color would be this nice blue, and the color would be control type color, which is not correct. I should use it like this. Whoa. Okay. And the title would be color. And I don't use it yet, but let's replace this thing with this props color. Right. Now if I will change this color to something like red or any, it will also automatically change here, and as well as width and height, so you can do whatever. Okay, so let's go back to my presentation. I guess I'm running out of time a bit, but I'm finishing. So what we saw is that you can create your own code components, which will help designers. You can use your components from the NPM, and they will be also available on Canvas. And also you can browse and share your components in the store. And also we have like a team store, which is private, so nobody will see except your team all the components you shared. And I think it's really important because with a framer you can have like a better collaboration with designers. And why it's such a nice thing is because then you can faster iterate on the products, and if you will have like really nice prototypes for ideas, then it will lead to better business decisions. And you sometimes like business do something and then they realize, oh, you know, I want it now in a different way, but you have all the code base already in your production code base, and you start to like change it. And if you had like bad abstractions, sometimes it could be really could lead to ugly solutions in your production code. Also with interactive components, you can empower people in your company, like not only business people, but anyone, even the business people, not only designers, to create part of your product, to share their ideas, and immediately have like a feedback. Or you can, for example, create a prototype with real data, and then your designers can go on the streets and just like do some real life user testing, which is awesome to see, like immediately problems of a project get a feedback without even like to run this whole cycle. And also you can help designers to learn how actually to program, and how they can use the platform, because sometimes we have designs that not impossible to implement, but very tricky to implement. Yeah, and that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me on Twitter or to ask me after this talk, and visit our website. Yeah, thanks.